Yeah, so I gave you the questions, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I was just gonna go over like just ask you all the questions essentially. I'll introduce myself, introduce you, and then you can kind of just, and then I'll just ask you a couple questions about yourself, and then like how we know each other, explain that situation. We're Facebook truthers, friend bomb, whatever, and basically just doing Facebook truther segment. So I'll do a bunch of these. I might modify the questions as, but you're like the first one, so.
Oh, great. Well, I'm happy to help you figure out how to develop this. I
So
think it's a great
yeah,
idea.
I like your
I
vibe and
think.
energy, so I wanted
Ah,
to
well,
do that. Let me get my headphones on.
so you've kept almost single-handedly. You've kept my mind open about the map of the flat Earth. Um, I would have just kind of clinged to the AE map because it was such a shock to my system in the first place to wake up to that.
Can you hear me good?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I was like 2 months into the AE map or the flat Earth movement. I clicked on flat Earth on my birthday, and like a few months later, there's this guy Thomas Thompson or something, and he was just saying the AE map is a lie. It's easily debunked. If you've run into problems with it and you can't figure out what they are, it's because it's not real. It's fake. And like I was like, I have been running into problems, and like I've shown new people, and they've immediately been able to debunk it with like simple questions. Well, what about true east or true west, or like like I was like, oh no, my mind immediately knew it, but I rejected it like cognitive dissonance. I just kept going, and then I was like, no, 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 no. This is. I kept going, no, 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 and it was enough, no, 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 that I finally just put it down, like essentially. And after so much, once I threw it away, I started getting like more evidence against it naturally, just through more research. So, like with the
You
whole,
basically helped me skip a couple of those steps. So
yeah.
thanks.
And sometimes you
Yeah.
need to, and I've had to debunk it like dozens of different ways because people see information differently. Like they need different ways to see why not. Like so some people
Like
was
I've
it.
got a bit of an astrological bent, and the spinning, the counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the
Yeah,
southern,
that's a fact.
totally screwed me up, man. I was like, because that has to do with like the houses too, and as far as I understand how we put the houses together in astrology, and yeah, so like everybody's got their in, and that just ended it for me. That particular one, yeah.
And when I started doing the personal firmament, I think astrology goes hand in hand with that. Like
Oof, personal firmament blows me away. I mean, I can kind of get personal sun, but yeah, dude, like
that's
to
why it's
me,
locked like a vault
yeah.
because each person has it projected from them. It's created
So
from
the
you.
most high point on that vault would be right under your head at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit, that's so cool. Oh man, are we recording? Is this?
So
Because I kind of like. This is definitely stuff I wanted to like talk to you about for a
yeah,
while.
yeah,
So
we're recording. So
okay,
yeah,
good.
so this is Matt. I've known him for quite a while. He's a friend of mine. He does a lot of holistic learnings and teachings, and I like his vibe and energy. We've been just truth of friends for a few years now, and kind of met you through Harry, I think, Matadine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and yeah, you want to tell us a little about yourself, what you do, how old you are, where you live?
Yeah, so I graduated like musical theater school like 4 years ago, and then I was like waking up a little bit during that time, and then after school I woke up even harder, started drinking my pee out of like psychological necessity, but also physical necessity. I discovered
You've been lied
healed
to.
myself like crazy. Yeah, yeah, and that really woke everything else up. You know, once something like that big, because it just helped me so much, the urine therapy. So that's sort of where I really started going public about being a truther, was I needed to express that, um, and I'm glad I did. I'm really
There is
glad
a
I did.
place for us weirdos.
It opened up a ton of doors for me, man. Maybe it's because I'm in early talking about pee in the West online. But I'm certainly not early in general. There's plenty of people worldwide who drink their pee. It's just kind of not a internet thing
It's
yet.
growing. It's growing
Yes.
with guys like Brother Sage and Matt and. Uh, I remember showing Harry
I'm
urine
sorry. This is
therapy.
some blood. I put a cayenne in it.
Oh, you put cayenne pepper in it?
Oh, it's fantastic.
My buddy makes his marijuana edibles with cayenne pepper.
Mm. Genius. What you were saying?
I don't remember. So,
Oh.
do you have
I
any?
forget.
Yeah, the pee.
So that's kind of where I got started, being like an online truther, really. So that's why I bring it up.
So when did you first hear about urine therapy?
Yeah, like YouTube algorithm grace has happened to me. A
I
couple
saw
times.
pictures on Facebook of people drinking it through the nose. That's how I first saw it. I was just scrolling through Facebook and I was like, why would people do that through their nose? That's just insane. And then I kept seeing it, the exact same picture. And I was like, all right, I'm going to click on it. And then I listened to a whole book by J.W. Armstrong. And then I found a couple of my friends on Facebook that were actually doing it. And they were like, just do it. And they were like, are you going to be brainwashed? And they did the whole reverse psychology on me, like stigmas. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And then I immediately saw like results. So
Right?
that was it for me.
Yeah, I think the first thing it does is like cut inflammation in my whole body like really quickly, and then I got like consistent mental clarity and like psychological benefit, and now it's just healing my whole body really, like deeply. I love it.
I go on and
yeah,
off. I can tell when I'm not taking it. It almost feels like
Right.
an antidepressant, and everything just flows better when I drink my first glass every morning. I can tell there's a big difference in my energy and not. So
No, sometimes when I'm too high, basically, I not even on anything. I like have to slow down on how much I'm like looping in a day. I'll generally take every morning, but yeah, like looping a full day is like a bit psychedelic, and doing that for weeks on end is serious business. But the good news is like it it's so balancing. It's very sattvic. It's very right down the middle in terms of like Ayurveda.
it's primal.
Keeping-
It grounds
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it's very centers you. Primal. It's like that's the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Right.
So-
So energizing, but definitely not imbalancing. So very very sustainable for how energizing it is. Yeah. So definitely good to talk about that.
All right. Well, I wrote down 20 questions. Do you have any questions for me before we get started?
No, I like this format, dude.
Okay.
We'll get to this, but Facebook, Truth or Friends need to talk more, face to face, even online. And I bet that's somewhat of your inspiration for doing this. Whatever it is, I think it's a great idea.
Well, yeah, I want to more normalize these conversations and people to see them and have them online. And that was the one good thing about my rideshare videos too, is I get to talk to people completely sleeping into this movement, and then like throw a whole bunch on them all at once. Because I like my observations. I know I'm patting myself on the back here, but they really you can see people's eyes immediately snap from like, oh my goodness. You can see it in their eyes, and it's incredible. Like, that's what I tell people. I have the smoking gun. Like, I have it. Like, so. And I was telling people that forever. I was telling my Facebook friends this forever. If I could just show people, me talking to people, that it can be done, and easily. Like, so. But I was telling my friend the other day that it only works in my format where it's one person. It's like the Men in Black thing. A person is smart, people are dumb. The minute you get another person, one turns into two, that energy of them turns into something else. Like, you won't have the same conversation. You just won't. They'll become a group. They'll team up on you. They'll look at each other before they go to answer the question. A lot of things like that, and you lose your listener. So
I completely agree, and I would point to spiral dynamics as a model that is based off of that fundamental fact. There's two sides to human development: one the group, one the individual, and you go back and forth in major ways between the two. There's only 6 relevant stages in spiral dynamics, and people spend whole lives in one.
I've never even studied spiral dynamics. I have to check that out.
Yeah, so very affirmative of what you just said. Even though it's obvious, it's important to keep in mind.
Right.
Yep.
I always I stay locked off in talking to myself in deep conversations, and then people always tell me, "Have you heard of this and this?" Like I hardly ever research anything, and then people bring it to me. I just, I'm just always in my own mind, I guess.
Well, no, I think we kind of need to be introduced to things. I mean, that's how it works for me. For example,
Well, you get a more detailed thought of it. Instead of just having an idea of it, like where I have the idea of it, you've actually done a full research on it of somebody who else has done a full research on it. So
yeah. Like you kind of have to be like the initial immersion or something. I don't know, somebody with
the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, sometimes it's best not to go down the rabbit hole, though. Have you experienced that lately? Have you had that thought where you're like, I wish I would have never went down that rabbit hole and I just knew the topical information of it and I didn't need to go down the information. It's brought too many fears and worries. Have you had this thought?
I am a 7 stellium Sagittarius in true sidereal astrology. I just, to me, I'm in pain unless I go down the rabbit hole. So,
It's where you live, huh?
Yeah, man. And it's funny because I really wasn't born in that context. I was born in enough money and stability and mainstream careers of the parents to where it's like a nice little a sleep bubble, like a really nice sleep bubble. And so that's sort of my argument for why I am who I am, is because I can't deal with, function without the truth, because I would have been fine otherwise, man.
I want to say, like, I noticed people like you, Harry, and a lot of females, I guess, you started to look a lot more attractive over the years. Like you went through like maybe like a chubby, unattractive phase. Maybe you didn't feel good about yourself and like weren't on the best diet. I've noticed you look a lot more bone structure, healthier, upright. I would say, you know what I mean? Like you can tell the difference. Yeah.
The neck issues and just swelling in the face big time. Oh my God! From the pictures of old me on Facebook, totally swollen.
And Harry's
the
same.
Standard American diet stuff.
Yeah.
Along with inherited whatever. Yeah, totally, man. And, the diet and the self-care has been essential for my awakening and even understanding.
That's where maybe vain of me and narcissistic, but that's where some of my admiration starts with a lot of my truther friends. I want to see where you started, and your part of your physical well-being is a big part of that for me. It's a big reflection of who you are, I think, and then so. But yeah. When did you first wake up? That's the first question. What was the first thing? Do you think you've always been awake, or do you think that it was something that unlocked you? Was it a parent's mindset from an early childhood? Was it a strange uncle? What do you think it was?
I think it was always with me. I wasn't really entirely. I didn't have a direction in life. I wasn't really. Even though I had a lot of really, nice situations and not a lot of trauma that was obvious in my life, still just like strangely unhappy and directionless. Ended up in art school because that made me happy enough, and then I really started waking up. I basically tried weed for the first time, which was like end of senior year of high school, then really started trying a freshman year of college, and it just blissed me out for months on end, and that ceased at a certain point. But I had this just amazing, maybe it's because I held off and I was pretty square up until that point, but just, really, like, I started to feel the love of consciousness itself, and I only cognized that that's what it was sophomore year when I tried mushrooms, that it was consciousness itself, when really all form fell away and there was no ability to believe anymore that this love or peace, it's happiness, understanding was coming from a body, because it had taken a drug or situations, but it was inherent in consciousness itself. So I really give thanks to these plants, and that works for me. I definitely went through weed addiction for 8 years after that, and psychosis, more or less. On definitely still undiagnosed. But
I'm having trouble getting rid of the weed myself.
Yeah, the urine has been essential for that. But I got all kinds of health gadgets, including this thing, and I've got a good relationship with weed. So my friend has it now, so. But certainly I was deeply addicted for 6 to 8 years.
Yeah,
But
mine's been
still,
since I was like, ugh.
I give thanks to it for waking me up. Is back to the question.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, weed's been a funny. It started out as a great thing for me, and then became a trauma thing for me, and then it helped me, yeah, with waking up. But did not feel like it's just something I should have stopped doing after the trauma. I guess if that makes sense, but I didn't. So, all right.
Yeah, it's not terribly horrible.
It's not bad. It can be depending on who you are, I think. And I'm one of those obsessive people. When I'm not putting my best foot forward, I let my worst foot lead me. If that makes sense.
Oh, well, in the context of weed and me, absolutely. I needed to slow down. I'm a generator in human design. I kind of do best when I let things happen in my life. But still, I was becoming horrifically unproductive. Yeah. And there was some serious life direction stuff that needed to fall away, and I'm really thankful it did. So it's always a question of, are these feelings coming from the weed of basically stop and don't do anything and zone out, because the action oriented parts of my life are unaligned, or if that's just the weed. And my opinion is, to a decent degree, that's just the weed. It really turned me into really lazy, and that needed to end at a certain point.
Yeah, I have a similar relationship with Joe Rogan. So he woke me up to DMT, right, and a bunch of other things. Should I hate him now because I still feel like he's a huge shill and liar, but he's doing what's best for probably his family and protecting his family and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know anything about him, but I do know that he's lying about one thing. But he's changed my life greatly in other ways. How should I feel about him? That I run into this conundrum a lot.
Yeah, I think coming out or saying things like he's evil or horrible would be absolutely taking it too far. I do, but controlled opposition is dangerous, and a serious issue in itself. So yeah, truly torn.
So what's your favorite truth?
Yeah, that consciousness is everything.
Consciousness is everything. That's your favorite truth?
Yes.
Like the power of believing, kind of like. So you control everything with manifestation consciousness?
No, none of that.
No?
None of that.
None of that?
That would be making it not as much of my favorite truth. Because yes, there's so many implications to it, but my favorite truth is just the one phrase, and best to say like a physics statement. C equals E. Like a physics statement, like a formula. Like, what is reality? Consciousness is everything. So yes, there's many things you can derive from that because it's true.
Yeah, got you. Yeah. It is true. Exactly. Okay, so what's your favorite conspiracy? Out of all the conspiracy, not truth. What's your favorite conspiracy? Something for entertainment.
I'm glad I rambled a lot previously because I really enjoy my short answers to these questions.
No, for people that don't know what a conspiracy is and know what the truth is, a conspiracy is something that's entertainment that you can't necessarily prove. It's more like celebrity stuff, Earth related, that's not repeatable or visible. But and the truth is something that's tangible, something that you can prove, repeat. So what's your favorite conspiracy?
Yeah. Okay, by that definition, I'd have to change it. Well, no. Okay, perfect. Yeah, materialist science. You can't prove it. It's not real. It's a conspiracy.
What do you mean by materialist science? Like the world being physical?
Atoms,
Oh yeah, like the place.
Yeah, that atoms are the fundamental unit of reality.
Okay, I got you. Like where we live in a physical place when it's not really physical at all.
Yeah, I think the way that, although Ken Wheeler on YouTube, Theoria Apophasis, although many people cite him, I think a lot of people don't quite fully understand him, including myself. However, a lot of what he says makes tons
Somebody
of sense.
linked a Ken Wheeler video to me and they said, I was listening to one of your observation videos, you should watch this Ken Wheeler video. It's funny that you said about that.
Yeah. He's on the Syncretism Society stuff now, and this totally resonates with me. That there's really only two physics out there: ether physics and atomism, and that's been the case forever. And yeah, ether physics would be a consciousness-only physics.
That's funny. When I had the whole debate with McToon, it became pretty much he's a low believer that debunks flat earthers. Um, now that you mentioned it was an atom versus ether conversation.
Yeah.
Is essentially what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really really nice way for.
I've never heard it put that way. I've always heard geocentrism versus heliocentrism, or creation versus non-believer. I've never heard of it ether versus atom. That's a good way to put it. That's more science.
That.
Yeah.
I love that, because this is even more universal of a concept, right? This
Right.
would relate to all those things you just listed. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And okay, let me just give.
Brings a different meaning to Adam and Eve, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's continue with the questions. But I want to say, okay, maybe there's something prior to consciousness, like the great Saint Nisargadatta Maharaj said in his lineage. But if you're going to talk about somethingness, that somethingness would have to be known, and that consciousness is prior to the known. So maybe there's something prior to the knowing called the absolute, totally undescribable. Just anyway.
Something can't happen from nothing, right?
Well, shit, nothing is happening. This is nothing right now. So nothing.
There's a bunch of vibrations going on here. What?
Yeah, but when you look at the vibrations directly, they disappear, right? With the attention of the consciousnly directed to actually looking directly at any vibration, it collapses and it turns into emptiness. Like the vibrational sense is always on the periphery of the attention, and so maybe if the attention becomes unlimited, like your true full force of your consciousness becomes unlimited, it all just empties out.
Well, then you'd be God.
Yes, but that would be the truth. And so let's talk about the truth. That's what I like to do. Start at the very tippy top.
So what conspiracy do you find absolutely silly?
Well, birds aren't real.
Yeah. I agree with you on that one. I've watched them be born, like literally come out of another baby and like clean it off and feed it out of its mouth. I've watched a bird kill its baby because I fed it worms. And yeah.
What does that mean? Is that...
No, like you hear that thing when I was a stupid child that wanted to see if it's true. If you go up there and touch a baby bird, the mother will think that you did something to it or attack it or think that it's not its home. So like I went and pet one and like gave it some worms, and I only touched one and it threw it out of the nest. Like I don't know.
Wow.
So like I wanted to test to see what it was. I was a kid. I was a dumb kid that did what I was told not to do, and like So birds are real.
I learned something today. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. I lived too much of an urban area. So thank you.
Yeah, you don't mess with the nest. They sometimes they won't come back, or sometimes they will. They'll smell you on them and get angry or something. I don't know what it is, but
yeah, I'll have to research that. Cool.
So, let's see something positive about the social media truth community. What's been?
Well, I mean, I can't tell you how important it is to express your truth. You need to practice how to say these things, not only for yourself, but for anybody that you'll ever talk to about this stuff, even if they're totally open. Well, that's just one reason, is just get some practice in. How are you going to phrase this stuff? How practice your confidence. I went to art school, it's very therapeutic to express yourself.
Blogging?
Yeah, make art, make stuff. You do that. Yep, it's important.
Yep.
So that's what I think is positive about these people online, is that they're all committed to doing that to a degree. Yeah.
Okay, and something negative outside the obvious of interacting with energies that have no influence over you, really.
Well, I mean, this is really relevant for this interview, but I believe it very much is not making in real life friends or having a video dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So I find group Zoom type things mostly online, and that's just infinitely more enjoyable.
Well, there's actual interaction, right? Like, yeah. Even
though it's still online, the group meetings, or,
like,
or stuff like this. Brother.
Third party almost seems like fourth party sometimes, like disconnected. So.
Third party, like where it's.
Well, it's just text, where we're all in a chat room or like under a comment section. Like, it just seems. and it gets lost in translation a lot. What you mean and how you feel. You're not really trying to be a dick, but sometimes it may come off that way. Like, and it's just, and especially me. Like, I get people like assume that I'm like the biggest asshole in the world, and it's just not that way. Like, and so
You're pumping out so much video content. They probably
yeah,
haven't clicked on any of it, brother.
yeah.
If they think
So
that. Yeah, so classic answers, but still very important. I don't mind repeating them.
okay, what knowledge since you woke up has helped you on a day-to-day basis the most?
Consciousness is everything, man. There's a certain let go that can only happen with that understanding in my system, and really honestly, surrender, letting go has been the biggest help. The understandings almost happen spontaneously with the let go process.
That's
It's
every time. I used to administer DMT ceremonies
ooh,
to like first timers and people and stuff for the
yeah.
first few times, and that's mainly what I would try to teach them before they did it, during while they did it. Let go, take a deep breath, just let go, and that's mainly what life is about. Letting go, right?
Mm-hmm. And that seems boring until you realize all the shit that flows into that vacuum.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of love that comes back in for letting go, like reward, I think, you know. So,
The Buddhists, I mean, I'm going to keep rambling on this. It's literally what life is about. I agree. The Buddhists say emptiness is fullness and fullness is emptiness. They even say both phrases at the same time. It seems like repeating themselves for no good reason.
hmm
You've said emptiness is fullness. Okay, they're equal. But to even emphasize how one is not superior to the other, they'll reverse the phrase and say it a second time. Because whatever you say first sounds like what you're talking about. So if I say emptiness is fullness, it
well,
sounds like
I get how fullness is emptiness, because if you're already full, you can't put anything else in there.
ooh, ooh, I hadn't thought of that one. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's yeah. Right. So you caught me almost, but yeah, like I'm really an emptiness addict, right? The sort of
hmm
consciousness is everything is sort of an emptiness statement.
Yeah.
Um, but see, I don't mean void when I say consciousness. I mean the knowing element, and really what I would say is inherent in consciousness is being, intelligence, but deep intelligence inherent in consciousness, and bliss. So Sat Chitananda would be the phrase in
You
Sanskrit.
ever
Being
research
consciousness.
Joseph Campbell? You ever do any
Well,
research
certainly
of any of
with
his work?
being an actor, musical theater major in college, I definitely got exposed to archetypes and hero's journey. So much so that I felt no need to actually read his stuff. So I probably
What
should.
you say you should like he talks a little about a lot of the stuff you do, like, a lot of stuff you do. Following your
Yes,
bliss is his main message. Like, that's Joseph Campbell's main message.
feel
So,
that.
um, let's see. Who do you think is the most? Oh, wait. Name something you used to think but no longer do. This is an easy one.
Yeah, Earth is a, I like to say, void ball.
An atom ball.
Well, the void is what is probably the most depressing. The spinning ball in a void. Yeah, spinning ball in a void. There it is.
Enter
That's
the
the way to put it.
void. Have you seen the movie?
Yes, I have. But yeah, again, there's no real void.
Yeah.
So this whole space vacuum
hmm
is in line with this existential nothingness that I think is really like a curse on humanity.
Gotcha. Who do you think is the most powerful shadow hand around, or do you think there's just one shadow hand? Do you think there's. So you had
Oh,
Skull and Crossbones, Jesuits, Freemasons, Cabal,
oh shoot! I
Illuminati,
misinterpreted the question.
the
Can you
elite
break it down?
families.
Yeah, no. Okay, so I think it's the Order of the Black Sun,
Okay.
which again, it's just a name, but that would be the highest categorization of the Cabal. So yeah, I would say there is the Cabal, and that Cabal would be the Order of the Black Sun, and everybody else you've heard about is underneath them. And then there's one person who is like above that, and that would be
The
the
Black
the
Pope.
ground commander. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I get my information from a particular source. I have not spent the years
Hmm.
that is needed to really understand this topic. I am thrown into an organization that claims to know, and so I'm repeating what they say, and I have some evidence to
And
back up their integrity.
they've been
Yeah,
right about a lot of other stuff, and you trust their sources, and but
that's right.
you trust them enough subjectively, but not objectively to share, kind of.
Well, let's see what. No, no, no. I mean, I am sharing it right now. I'm saying this is
Right.
what I believe.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm saying like, well, I have a lot of beliefs that I don't want others to believe just because I believe them, right? And
Oh yeah, no,
yeah, yeah.
certainly. There's no belief like I want others to believe it
I want
just
people to
because
believe
I
things
know.
because they experience them. That's
Yeah,
my
because of evidence. No,
yeah,
same,
yeah, yeah,
same
yeah.
here. And so me saying this without evidence would hopefully lead people to be interested in the
Research it.
evidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
which
What
my
can people go look at to?
yeah.
Yeah. There
So
you
I
go.
now work for the Life Force Network News, which is a product of Stefan Rao, nicknamed Tank, who
Mhm.
is a big truther. He claims to have been part of the group that like took 6 months out of their lives to go and get Jeffrey Epstein arrested.
Okay.
And I think that's true. Um, and anyway, yeah, the website is where people will find if this looks legit or not.
Yeah.
Life Force
Life.
Network, we've got good SEO at the moment. So if you just type into Google, um, the Life Force Network or Life Force Network, it'll be the first thing up there.
Okay.
We're still developing the site and uploading things to it, but I'll send you links to it, brother. But it's going to be all over my Facebook.
Okay.
Um, yep. Hopefully not. Well, here's the thing about controlled opposition, man. Like, I know I want to address this at one point.
Yeah.
Controlled opposition doesn't talk about solutions.
Yes. That's something I've. A long time ago, there was this guy. I can't remember his damn name. His name was like Lars. He was a Facebook truther that got popular. He ended up getting on some like media channels, but I accused him of plagiarism one time, and I remember going after him because he wouldn't have any solutions. And I remember going hard after him. I was like, you're always plagiarizing my crap, and I've noticed. And like he ended up blocking me because I went off on him about his problems and not solutions. And
Dude, he's probably literally
just
controlled
instigators, instigators. I wish I could remember his name because you might recognize it. Um,
I mean,
Damn.
I think these people who have no solutions are honestly placed there. I really do. No solutions, really. Like you're able to live the life of a
It's just a
true alternative
protagonist
person.
almost. They're just that's what I see. Is protagonist is
You mean antagonist?
antagonist? Yeah, antagonist.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
So
But yeah, my claim is that they're overtly malicious and they don't spontaneously happen in nature. They are like put there by organizations that want ill.
right now, how's your other than like you're in therapy and things like that? Have you improved your health and fitness as far as your diet, and how's your diet changed and your fitness routine? What do you do for fitness?
Yeah, so the whole mucus thing really makes a lot of sense to me. I got into enemas big time, like coffee enemas, for like 2.5 years, like every day, and I've since slowed up because that's a pretty like yin thing. It kind of makes you a little bit lazy, just like weed, and it's just you can overdo them. So I recommend a once a week coffee enema for people, but while you're still pretty toxic, 4 or 5 times a week.
I've noticed
Um,
that some really like heavy amino urine like blows me out real hard in the morning. Like if I have a dark pee, like it comes right out. Like so.
That's a great point. I don't do enemas to clean my colon actually, or even to clean my intestines. I do it because it provides liver support. Really,
Okay.
that's like the reason I do enemas.
All
The
right.
liver is burdened so bad in everybody
Well, I might
because
have to
it
get on
takes
some.
the burden of the rest of the body. Like as you detox, if you don't support the liver is just taking the brunt of all that detox. So a lot of people who are detoxing and getting into a healthier life end up with like worse liver trouble than they started. And so we need some kind of solution for that. If you don't like coffee enemas, tell me about your other solution to support the liver, like
Right.
really.
I got you.
Yeah.
So what's your
I got all
opinion?
kinds of stuff on my website. The tools, and I'm a real gadget freak. I got like 3 necklaces on right now.
Mhm.
EMF stuff has been huge for me. I learned how to mitigate EMF while living in New York City. So that was
Mhm.
like a freaking accomplishment. But yeah, the mucusless diet healing system is what I'm working towards. The mucus kind of comes out in waves, and sometimes the cravings are pretty
The first
bad.
time I heard about the mucus was Dr. Sebi. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
Hmm.
never knew there was a mucus diet and a non-mucus diet. I was like, what? Are you
It,
serious?
maybe there's like another way to
But
essentialize or
but now
simplify what the diet would
I can
be.
actually hear somebody's the way they talk if they have a high mucus diet or a low mucus. You can hear it in
Yeah.
their voice. Yeah, you can hear it. Like you can literally hear it. Like
Yeah, I think it is that essential is the claim. It's not really a secondary phenomenon. It's kind of like root cause for sure. Like a lot of things cause mucus, but mucus backup is the ultimate problem. It's basically constipation on a cellular level.
bacteria
So
buildup. Yep.
constipation. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I personally don't think that there's any good or bad bacteria. It's just the bad terrain, and then the bacteria conform to the terrain. And
Too
same
much
with
of it
viruses. Oh, certainly there's like the byproduct
of excess.
of a bad terrain, which is bad bacteria. But you don't get rid of the bad bacteria to get rid of the problem. The bad bacteria will just keep coming back. You have to get to the root cause of the poison tissue, the bad environment. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Same with viruses. The viruses don't exist.
What's your opinion on religion and spirituality? I know that's a big question. It's in the truth community, like religion, God, spirituality. Are you one of the people that are against religion, pro religion? Do you think there's a government religion that doesn't teach true spirituality, or you support whatever works for people? What's your opinion on your religious spiritual experience from being born to now? Did you come full circle? Were you a believer before? I'm pretty sure one common thing in the truth community is we all wake up to God. And so like what's your spiritual journey been like?
First of all, I agree with that. We do all wake up to God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you could say that the surrender vibe is very similar to that
Mm-hmm.
realization, and maybe that's more commonly talked about. But still, I would say we all wake up to God if we're a truther. Yep. Devotion is a thing you can find in every religion that I think is fantastic. And that's as opposed to service, which I also love. But service can be perverted even more. I can do than devotion can. Service like, you know, I'm gonna get on your ass about the X, Y, and Z, or try to convert people, and there's a lot of damage in that. Holy wars and things. But devotion, I mean by that, some sort of activity that is just giving energy back to God. Energy that you receive from God, you give it right back. And I do that with chanting, prayer, silence. There's a lot of ways to give the energy you get from God immediately right back to God. And there's a lot of traditions that do that. Just going to church does that, you know. So I mean it in the most broad sense.
I've run into a
Um,
lot of truthers that are anti-church, and I think they should get away from this negative energy.
ooh,
Like
ooh, there's so many churches that I wouldn't want to go to, though. I guess.
I understand what you mean and say that there, but
Yeah.
there's a message there and a brotherhood and a word there, and open ears. I think that you might find that you wouldn't find in other places.
Yeah, you know what I would do? I would go to a bunch of different services. I just don't want to get caught up in something that's not a total truth, I guess,
Yeah.
which is a big statement, and like I get involved in stuff like this Life Force Network. I'm really involved, and
Mm-hmm.
I have only so much proof for that, and I threw myself in. So hopefully it doesn't turn into, one of them, issues.
I like to
Just
dabble.
another. Yeah, yeah, because right, what you talked about is a universal phenomenon among most all churches. There's in real life, your body in the room, with other warm bodies. I mean, I used to sing in choirs in high school and do theater shows in college and after college, and dude, doing theater is a religious experience, man. I've had more of an out of body experience watching myself, say the lines that I memorized with other people than I've ever had alone, or even when I, in any other context.
I only have one reference to that, but me and my friend Charles in elementary school and younger, we used to put on puppet shows for the nursery at church, and I remember it being one of because we had to write it down. We did all the scripts, the play, and we had to put on the whole show. And I just remember like putting on this show, and kids are laughing, and they absolutely loved it. And it was just, yeah, it is kind of out of body experience.
Right, you have a relationship with the audience, you have a relationship with your actors, you have this weird relationship with your body, which is doing the memorized thing, which is another thing I love about singing and chanting, is you've got a memorized mantra. And at a certain point, you just watch yourself do the mantra. There's my body just doing the thing, because it's so freaking repetitious. You don't have to remember what the mantra is or whatever.
So we're on this subject before I'm cutting you off. You're wearing the thing on your head.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this. Do you ever study Aleister Crowley?
Ooh, yeah. So no, my upbringing was I think plenty satanic. I grew up in L.A. area. Thank God I went to public school. I've always been proud of that. No, I haven't studied him. Yeah, the pyramid thing. It works. Is all I can say for clearing my head.
Because he wears the pyramid hat on his head, right?
Yeah, he does. I've seen those pictures, but again, I haven't studied him. I've seen the pictures.
That's what I thought when I first saw you in the camera. I was like, okay, I wonder if it's the Aleister Crowley thing.
If I did this, it would be more of a three-pointed thing as opposed to the sort of straight box of, because the box is very Saturnian, as I understand.
Square Earth?
But square Earth, yeah.
The bottom of a triangle. Did you know every triangle or every pyramid on Earth faces north, south, east, west? So that also debunks the A map. They're all lined up north, south, east, west. Now look at them on a map, all facing north, south, east, west. They're all lined up the exact same way, north, south, east, west. That would not work on the A map.
I'm with you, brother, but an AE person would say, okay, but the magnetic north curves you right around like David Weiss does on his videos, where he's got the magnet or the compass that points north, and he has it on a string that's going around in a perfect circle, and the compass. But
magnetic north changes, right?
Yeah, right. It's always changing. The compass is always.
But the stars. All the pyramids are directly up underneath the star constellation as well, and the sun perfectly goes over each pyramid east to west during the equinox, because it's perfectly lined up north, south, east, west.
Oh, yeah, the sun moves straight. The sun does not curve in the sky. The sun fucking moves straight.
No, well, during the equinox, it has a northern arch during the summer and a southern arch during the winter. It has 3 tracks. Summer,
okay, well, what
equinox,
I can say is just
winter. Yep.
What I meant by that, because I'm no scholar.
Yeah.
What I meant by that is when I look at it, it doesn't look like it's massively curving over my.
Oh, no. That's just your perspective.
Right.
Like coming to and away from you, right?
So in general, it looks like a straight line. But yes, that would make, like in sort of like an optical sense, which talks to like it's kind of your personal thing, or it's like a projected through the firmament or something.
It's because you're not moving. It's coming to and away from you. It gives the dome appearance.
I actually meant curved in the.
No. During the summer, the sun rises north of you from the east, and it rises south of you from the east during the winter. Like it has a winter track, equinox track, and a summer track. It's closest to you during the summer. It's farthest to you during the winter. So it just has 3 different tracks. And then it comes to you on all 3 tracks, south of you here in the north, and then it'll go set south northeast of you during the summer, east of you during fall and spring, and then slightly south of you during the winter. So it's like 15 degrees to your compass. Like if you take a compass and look east, the summer is like 15 degrees of north, the winter's like 15 degrees of south. And the shadow on the wall will drastically change when the equinox happens or solstice happens. There's not like a gradual day by day, it's going tropic to tropic to tropic. It goes from that track to that track. It does not like, oh, I'm going to go from tropic to tropic to tropic. No, it goes from summer solstice to equinox. The shadow on your wall will jump like that big.
And that is awesome. Oh, I love that, dude. I mean, like, I'll have to take a look. So
And see,
yeah,
that disagrees with
wonderful.
mainstream science too. So
No
like,
shit.
yeah, you wait for the day the season to change, and the whole shadow. When if you're looking east, you look at a shadow somewhere behind you, and just mark it. It'll you'll
Dude,
see.
my birthday is December 22nd.
Ah, so you're right on the
Mm-hmm.
solstice, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those days where like the sun dies, where it's not moving.
It's harder to tell during the winter equinox though because of it's got to go through more cloud coverage.
Right.
Yeah, and so
But still, you're gonna get this. Yeah, but that no. This jump would happen. No. Yeah, it would jump. Give me the dates. So we're talking middle of the summer that it would jump to the middle.
July 22nd, June 22nd, somewhere there, and then you have March, middle of March or September that it does a jump too.
Okay, it jumps in September. Yeah, so maybe this lines up with the. Oh yeah, it would line up with the analemma.
Yeah. So
Yeah, squaring that with the analemma. There's this product called the analemma wand. It structures water real good, so that's kind of cool. They like took the full spectrum of the sun.
okay,
Anyway,
let's see what else we got. What is your opinion on voting in politics?
yeah,
Do
I
you
think
think it's real? Do
pointless
you think
mind.
voting matters?
I used to really care, and that's what woke me up was really caring, you know.
Hmm.
So really care about what your vote is. Really care about politics, and you'll learn. Is my life experience. Really care about the stars. My dad is a GPS engineer. I really care about space. That's what woke me up. My mom, health writer for children's magazines, is what woke me up for True Health, even though I ended up disagreeing with them majorly. So same with politics, and going from really believing in it to knowing that it is entirely pointless mind control, brother. It is. There's no point in voting, and it's really destructive to think that there is such thing as a singular savior. Which is something that's been happening in politics more and more. Um,
Yeah, the whole Trump worship is crazy.
and I mean, Biden, just to be even-handed, but yeah. I mean,
I've
especially
never seen anybody worship Biden, but I don't like Biden, and I support a lot of Trump's ideas. But I see a lot of Trump people that aren't objective about a
yeah,
lot of things, and the
yeah.
worship of him is so out of hand. And I generally support what he has to say over Biden and the Republican Party over the Democratic Party. But um, I'm more libertarian, I guess. Um, so, but yeah, I
I think
just
it's good to have a position. I think it's good to say what you are. I think in general, it's good to have an opinion.
right because if you
So,
don't stand for something, then you know.
100% agree with that. So it's kind of strange to have that to know that that's true, and say that politics is entirely pointless. There's something new that has to come in to replace it, which is also very dangerous. So that relates to the whole life force network thing in terms of my current opinions.
Okay. Mainstream media. So I went through waves of different media. I woke up. I first woke up to fake news being fake news like 10, 15 years ago, and then I woke up to alternative news being fake news.
Yeah,
Like We Are Change and AMTV, Christopher Green, Mark Dice, and all these controlled opposition channels that were just thrown at me all at once, and then I realized they were all connected too. And then
Ooh,
and then I found people like me and you, and that we are the voice and beating of the world in America,
find the
and
solution
we are
givers.
the truth.
Good
We are
luck.
the truth. So like,
Yes, sir.
um, what's been your dealing with media?
Well, I just, I'm a broken record. It's become so clear to me that the controlled opposition is the ones who don't talk about solutions. I mean, I even fell for the snake venom thing 4 months ago.
Snake venom. What do you mean?
There was a doctor who came out and went on the Stu Peters show that they were putting snake venom in the vaccines and in the water. It was a documentary called Watch the Water. Stu
Hmm.
Peters, again, no solutions. So yeah, I came from a total Democrat family, total Democrat background. I was a musical theater major at a very good musical theater school. I mean, like literally forefront of teaching the new wave of propagandists at that school. which helped wake me up. I was taking psychedelics at the time, and I was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" And I love these people, like my classmates, good people, right? So the ideology that was laid on top of it, a lot of people that even push this stuff are like kind of innocent in a way. Deep conditioning for years when they're growing up, it's the cabal is thorough, um, to in some ways. Um, anyway, back to point. What's the point? Get me back on track.
Media.
Yep. Uh, literally find the people who are talking about the solutions. Those exist. Those are mostly health channels. And the good news is everything relates to health. So you'll learn about a whole bunch of other stuff when you listen to those health channels. Especially because the more people become healthy physically, they realize how emotional the true health blocks are, and I have certainly not overcome them, but they really are
And you can definitely,
energetic.
what I've noticed a lot about the health gurus and people, you can tell the people that are just doing it because they love to do it and they're there every day, and and then the people that are selling something like they're
Yeah,
like a product or something, like
yeah,
but if they're not literally like obsessing and doing videos every day without selling something too, they're generally on. That's what I've noticed. Is just I understand you need to make business, and if you're really like educated about it, then I think you should make money, but I don't think it should be like almost like pitching yourself every time you make a video. And so
yep, I agree. Yep, the life urge and death urge thing is deep as heck. You can be like literally an everyday life affirming, solution pushing truther and still have hidden death urges, like, really a self destructive tendency and a desire to die. Um, the one reason for why this is possible is that the upper death drive is actually the liberation um, drive. It's a drive to die to the ego. And so, really, the death urge is all there is in terms of motivation. So that's just to explain why this framework is possible. Um, but it's very hard to totally get rid of all your death urges. That means getting rid of a ton of buried trauma, and that is a really exciting thing that people can kind of intuit and get on that track decades before they even realize the scope of the project. My understanding, and that those are the people who I want to follow. People who are really interested in totally eradicating their death urge. That
the
doesn't mean
trauma.
that yeah, literally clearing it all out.
A lot of people don't even aren't aware of even their trauma. I think, or
Yeah,
yeah, you said you've taken psychedelics a lot. I often find that every time I've taken psychedelics, I either am curing, I'm going through a therapeutic session, or I run into something I was unaware of within myself, and then I needed to cure it anyway. And I always tell people, there's no such thing as a bad trip. That they're all good trips, and even if you have a bad trip, then that's the most learning experience you're gonna have. So.
keep telling people that. I mean, what is your other option? Tell them, oh yeah, that's a bad trip. You're having a hellish time, and there's nothing that you're gonna get
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
it.
It's only gonna get worse.
But it's true.
I think your feet are on fire right now. I mean,
Oh my god.
yeah.
um, on that subject, I really think it's important to tell people about Amanita muscaria because people take a lot of psilocybin and
I
kind of
haven't
blow their
taken that yet.
energetic system.
Yeah, I haven't taken that yet.
It works with the GABA system, which is the inhibitory neurotransmitter or neurochemical system. So it is very, very different from psilocybin. I believe that nature has given us this dichotomy between Amanita muscaria and psilocybin that is obvious when you see it. The psilocybins are blue. That is the upper chakras, throat and up. The amanitas are red, root chakra. They also run black and yellow. Still, generally
So I
lower
tell people
chakras.
this all the time that the red shoes of the elite have nothing to do with murdering babies. It has to do with their mushroom cult.
Ooh,
Like,
see this? Yes, the
yeah,
Vatican wears costumes that look exactly
like
like
the
the
Santa
Amanita
Claus
muscaria.
hat is a mushroom hat.
Uh,
The
white, white fucking warts. I mean, you know the mushroom I'm talking about, people. Whereas the
Yeah,
classic,
the
yeah,
Super Mario Brother mushroom. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
that
I know what it is. I've studied it. I read books on it. I read The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross by John Allegro. I've done the Atlantean Conspiracy Road. I know all about the Amanita muscaria. I just haven't. Me and my friend, we have it on our list to do together. We're gonna do it together. So, and you have
yeah,
to
yeah.
drink your urine on it.
And yes, no, it's very good to drink your urine on it, but it's
So,
so much more calm, chill, and inward. People don't even realize they're tripping until they like get into enough life situations, like out and talking to people, or trying to drive or something. Yeah, and in general, it'll make you fall asleep. I took a really high dose when I started, and I fell asleep. I woke up plastered to the floor. I could feel that in my body, but my visual was completely gone. There was no body and no world. It was just the white light, literally the white light. I've never gotten such a singular and simple experience from any other psychedelic. Usually there's a whole shit ton going on. I mean, a whole shit ton going on. And this with Amanita was the white light. So it's very, very simple. And so its effects are very easy to miss, but its effects are as profound as the simplicity of consciousness itself. I have a ton of respect for this mushroom. And I think it literally balances out the effects of psilocybin. It's very activating,
have
very
you done
outward moving.
any ayahuasca before? Have you done that?
I've taken it in a chocolate bar from Amsterdam, which was just beautifully formulated. And yes, I can tell how it is the most heart opening of all the things I've taken. I didn't really get it in too big of a dose. But yeah, I did that chocolate bar. I've smoked DMT, and that absolutely was the heaviest thing I've ever done.
DMT
Um,
is the crack rock of psychedelics. Smoking
yeah,
DMT is the crack rock of psychedelics. This is the way I describe it to people. It's super intense, blam, all at once, and then it's over. Okay.
you think it's over, but you're still as high as you've ever been, and you can't even tell.
Yeah, the euphoria. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That
So
was one of
what's
jokes.
what's your favorite book that you've read since waking up? What's your favorite truther book?
Oh yeah, Truth or Book would have to be slightly different, but still, the Tao Te Ching,
Well, both.
classic.
We'll do both. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Tao Te Ching is a classic, and a lot of people talk about it, but I'm not sure that they're aware of the best translation of it, which is definitely the Stephen Mitchell translations. And if you like good Western translations of spiritual books, he's done others, including the Gospels, like select Gospels. And his translate, nope. Well, yeah, I'm sure he has done the Gospels, but the one I've read was the Psalms, and those are just amazing. I mean, just absolutely make the Psalms come to life. Some of the most beautiful Psalms. He's a real scholar. He's like translated those like Russian epics, like Dostoevsky, and a lot is lost in translations. And this guy just has like a true non-dual, and that's just my consciousness is everything equals non-duality in my mind. He's got a grounding in that just imbues everything with the truth. I think that he writes. So the Stephen Mitchell translation of the Tao Te Ching, and also check out the Psalms.
Okay.
Um, but Truth or Book, this gets down to like my story a little bit. I'm not terribly educated. You are a fantastic resource, man. Like you clearly study so much, and that's what kind of freaks me out about getting involved in the Life Force Network, which is pretty heavy, without being terribly educated. So I'm very eager to tell all my truther friends about the Life Force Network, and they can kind of double check it for me.
Well,
It has to do with Marduk.
I think each
Do you know
truther
about?
though has their own specific field of study and interest. Some people are really good at everything and like broad. Like I'm a personal firmament guy, and that's my thing. And then like, so what were you saying, Robert Field?
Well, you should specialize, but see, I haven't even done like really the entirety of the basic broad education. Like, I'm not sure I could even really cite a quote truther book. I'm sure I have one, but a lot of those have been health books.
What's been your favorite health book then? What's
Oh, this one about the eyes, Peter Grunwald, the eye body method.
okay?
The eye and the nervous system, it integrates the whole body and all of our experiences. And I learned this amazing fact of the visual cortex is actually in the back of the head, which is where you see. If you get an injury back there, you'll lose your vision. And when there's like a loud noise, people go like this, which is to protect that back part of their head. There's a lot of really important stuff going back there.
Yeah, that's what
That's why.
there's a 2-inch strip in mixed martial arts fights. You're not allowed to punch.
That's
right in the
right.
back of the head. Yeah.
Yep. That's serious shit. And one of the things right there is vision. Like you can knock somebody's vision out from back here.
That's your reptile
So,
vertebrae right there. That's where your reptile. That's where your reptilian piece is right there.
uh, oof, yes. Yeah, literally motor function.
Mm.
Um, so there's a theory out there that the Dracos messed with our brain 16,000 years ago, and the Dracos are reptilian, and maybe they installed the reptilian brain, which installed fear and lack in the human being. Um, Possible,
I've
which
heard
would
that
mean that
Nimrod.
that
I've heard some multiple theories on this. I've heard that
well,
Nimrod
you know how
redid our
the
DNA.
flood
Yeah.
myth has many different takes, but it's still the
Hmm.
general same theme.
Hmm.
Usually points to something true.
Yeah,
Just saying.
that's
I've
true.
got my golf ball here. I roll on my hands, and my feet. It's kind of gross, but that's why the oh yeah but this is the fact. If you put your hand on the lower back of your head, you're touching the view with your hand. What you're seeing is being processed there. It is a big claim, but again, if you hit that part of the head with a bat, you'll knock out the view. You'll knock out your vision.
So that's why sometimes
So,
it vibrates if you've been slapping back of the head. You know, Muhammad Ali, they changed the rule in boxing because he used to do this thing when he was boxing. He would jab somebody and then grab them in the back of the head and jerk on them. And he used to do that all the time. Just he wouldn't punch you, he'd just grab you and jerk on you. And they said it messed up people's equilibrium. And they changed the rule because of him. Like,
wow, what a genius. Yeah, I did that before the rule change. Good for him. Um, but here's the spiritual bent to that, which is what I really wanted to get around to. People have a sense of their self. I do as
yeah,
well.
eyes in the back of your head.
Oh, well, that, yes. I don't want to project on everybody else, but I truly feel like the burden of my selfhood, of me being a separate self, is separate and cut off from infinite consciousness, is a frustration located in my head. I'm also a thinker. I like to think, so maybe that's why. However, there's one thing that just destroys that illusory sense every time I really talk about it or think about it.
11100001101.
The light code or something. Literally, just realizing that there is no room for a self between my hand and the view of the outside world, which is happening back here. Because generally you think you're seeing up with this, this part of like the eye. I'm seeing here, and then I'm behind the view.
Right.
In here.
Well, that's what I said. We're projecting all of our reality.
Back. Oh, dude, it's so good.
Yeah.
So there's no room for a self in the head if the seeing is in the back, and that takes.
I had a DMT experience like that once, where I had a conversation with myself outside of myself. It was really weird. It was like this huge, mind blowing thing that happened. And I was like, oh, it was like, who are you talking to right now? I'm talking to this napkin. And like, are you sure you're talking to this napkin right now, or who else is in here with you? And I was like, I'm not in here with anybody. Who are you talking to then? And I was like, oh, what's going on now? Oh, God! I was like in this dark closet by myself talking to a napkin that was me, that was also talking to myself. And then I took myself out of my body and started talking to myself in the napkin. I was like, oh, no, what is this?
Can I say the punchline? That's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's just orderly. That's the only difference. Gotta love it. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
So have you?
And it's the full moon. That's my excuse for constantly.
It's tonight the full moon. I haven't even been paying attention.
It's getting close.
It's getting close.
I drink my pee. I can.
It's getting close. I can always tell because I wake up at 3:33 every morning and get it ready for work, and so I go to Uber every morning. But let's get a few more questions. Have you experienced any tragedy, and what's the most important thing you've learned from it? This might be a tough question.
Let me see what I wrote down. That helps me. Oh no, you didn't write this. Let's see. What's the most traumatic thing that happened?
In your life?
Probably, it's easy to blame, things that you don't remember, that it's part of the birth trauma stuff. But with doing the breath work, especially, it becomes more obvious when you do breath work as opposed to psychedelics. Even though it can come up in psychedelics, it's just usually there's so much else going on with psychedelics. The breath work is a little more simple. and embodied. So I think, the cord wrapped around my neck when I was being born, like pretty bad. Like they had to do a C-section. Sometimes they don't have to with nuchal cords. It's a fairly common occurrence. But anyway, I've had neck issues,
Mhm.
like, and sort of a spinal misalignment and bad posture more than I think most people, like all my life. And that spinal misalignment really does mess people up.
Oh
And,
yeah.
I think that's actually like a core reason: back pain, spine misalignment, neck misalignment. Probably the core reason, along with, a general disinterest in a lot of other things in life, probably because I was always feeling my body and just knowing something was wrong. The core reason I'm on the life path I'm on, but the desire to fix some pain in my body, generally located in my upper back and my neck. Um, it's always just been nagging at me since forever. And if you're born with it, it seems kind of like a background noise, right? Like something that is just inherent in life. But as I started to heal, I realized it wasn't. And the obsession became clear, that I was actually on a journey to fix that. And prior, it was just like a phantom ache from everywhere. And I didn't even know it existed, but it was there because, again, it was all my life. Other than that, my family has suffered with. Oh yeah, no, you did put this on the question. Yes. My family has suffered with ill health. I've got a small family, and it just sucks to see them suffer with ill health because it's literally the last people in my family.
Now, do you think
Literally.
the health is from government related um, material, or is your family awake as well?
Well, yeah, my dad flew a lot for his work, and there's a lot of pollution that goes into the cockpit, I think, every flight. So people who, it's just
What's his opinion
generally.
on pharmaceuticals and things like that? Government.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. So my parents even try to be healthy, right? But
Hmm.
I find sort of a deadness kind of in the ability to communicate. That was probably the most upsetting thing, is not feeling full connection with the parents, and then eventually waking up to there's actually a pharmaceutical component to that. And yes, Tylenol and Benadryl and Advil would probably be the biggest culprits in my family. But then every once in a while, an, an antibiotic just wipes the gut, you know, just kind of fairly standard. And it was enough to upset me. I mean, I'm, which should be for everybody, to be frank. I'm an only child, and so that increased it. Um,
A
you
lot
know,
of noticed a
and
lot of truthers are middle child. They're the black sheep, or yeah, and so you're a only child. It's interesting.
yeah, yeah. I think I just have terribly high standards. I really don't have a terrible childhood. I really don't. I have, pretty darn amazing parents. But
Because usually to find truth, people have to go looking for it, or something happened, or they
right.
just don't go looking for it on their own.
So I
They're
really
content
am
with
like
life. Yeah.
appealing to these like birth trauma things. Like, what is it in me that is just like, pretty darn angry and in pain, and that, like everybody else, is what gets them on a path toward healing. I've got that too, man. It's just I don't quite know what the trigger is, and
Hmm.
yeah, but it's why I look deeper, maybe because my answers aren't so clear. So.
Two questions left. What do you think reality is? Goes back to consciousness is everything, right? Is it?
Yeah, and if not, it's the absolute prior to consciousness. But still, like shit, if it is, then it has to be aware, if it is, right? So yeah, maybe there's an absolute that. I mean, look, here's why I would entertain the absolute, really, in technical terms. Consciousness implies a known object. To say that consciousness is everything is to say there are no objects. So it's a contradiction. If
Yeah,
consciousness is everything, there is nothing to be conscious of.
I do think
So
there is a
that
physical reality, though. I
I
want to.
don't.
I think there is an analog to the Earth, because it's still here, whether or not we're here or not. And
I
I've
think there's
thought
an
about this
impulse
so
that
long that I just.
me too, man. And I
It,
really want
it,
to
it's
hear
like
what you
chicken or
say.
egg, right? You don't know
Um,
where to. Where it's like a constant thought that you can never grasp. Like we're not supposed to know. Like the
there's two
wonder.
statements that I want to
Yeah.
say to check with you to see if this kind of covers the itch that you're scratching with your statements. and I think it will cover about 60% of it, but not the whole of it. First of all, solipsism is nonsense, where only my finite mind exists. And so, like, when I go to sleep in deep sleep, nothing exists, because I'm in deep sleep. I don't buy that. What I think is going on, and I think that's very destructive, and is the essence of
Like nothing
narcissism.
exists outside of me. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
actually the essence of mental illness, period. It's the essence of narcissism, which has been argued as the essence of all other mental illness. Even in non spiritual people, I think they're secret solipsists. Their secret scandalous solipsism is in everybody. So,
Well,
point
I
being,
know people. That's why I say that our reality is an individual and collective experience. I know that the collective has an effect on my life. I know it does, and like,
yeah, this is very interesting to talk about you for this reason. So, you could say so then there's the shared dream. Okay, it's all a dream.
mm-hmm.
It's all mind. It's all consciousness, and then one step down from that, all mind, and then there's the collective mind, which is manifest as like the collective world, which is a consistent Earth dream that is there whether human is sleeping or not. At least for the other human observers and animals, and any sentient being. I'm not a panpsychist, where and there's so many different little facets here that I think are actually necessary to
Address.
clarify,
Yeah.
but kind of sound like tangents. I'm not a panpsychist where consciousness is endowed to certain objects and not others. I experience
I am.
directly. Oh yeah, no, it's actually kind of a controversial point.
I think the universe reveals itself to certain people at certain times, and it doesn't mean that it won't do the same thing for you later, but certain people are getting it at certain times that others aren't.
Great. I call that levels of awareness. I don't
Yeah.
call that consciousness itself.
Okay.
Consciousness itself has no levels.
Okay.
Consciousness is the knowing element.
I
That's
see what
just a
you're saying.
matter of vocabulary. Yeah.
Semantics, kind of, yeah.
So, but the objects are born in consciousness. They arise in consciousness. They disappear in consciousness. So I don't see this logic that the consciousness is in some objects and not others. No. Here's the best way to put it. No object is conscious. This body is not conscious. The birds and the animals are not conscious. But consciousness is dreaming the whole world and is sensitive to the experience of the human and the animal. So, don't you're hurting consciousness when you hurt an animal or you hurt a human. Um, you know,
It's kind of like
yeah.
that. What's that sleep where people get stuck when they wake up and they're just sitting there
Oh,
observing themselves?
yeah, the observer. Yeah, no, it's in order to get kind of one thing that freaks out people out about this consciousness is the only thing. Um, and then yeah, we definitely want to talk about what is shared and what isn't. Right, that's a great question in terms of the dream and Earth especially, because yeah, we all experience like a 3D space and sun and shit. But yeah, it's a personal sun. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the personal sun allowed a lot of room for parables, metaphors, and analogies to almost everything in my life, and
Personal
especially
Jesus, personal sun.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It became
yeah.
it became such an eye opener for me in a scientific way uh, that you can uh, compound off of. So like it just yeah, it makes so much sense to me afterwards.
The
Can't
truth is, well, the truth of any subject is applicable to all subjects. It's like some fractal shit. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why when you happen on the truth, it's usually a floodgate moment. Like all these connections start happening, and that's a big indicator for what the truth is. And
Yeah, I
that,
encourage people if they know they have some kind of truth, hang on to that, and build
yeah,
off of it. Just keep,
yeah.
yeah, keep
Well,
going to
that's kind
that
of what I
box.
wanted to
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
because there's this sort of like, oh my God, I just know this is true. That is actually somewhat awesome. Like, even though you don't necessarily have all the proof, like, stick with it for a while and accumulate the proof. Like, if you had that light bulb connection moment, that might be your thing to investigate. You know.
9/11 is definitely one of those.
How long have you been at this, brother?
um, I woke up in 2009.
Yeah.
It was right when Obama got elected, and I was believing all the change, and Then I realized, oh, the black man's in on it too. Like,
That should have been it for everybody.
yeah, well, we're definitely
Oh,
screwed. Like, he's in on it.
2011
Yeah.
happened with the housing, and it's like, Jesus, how are we not waking up?
Yeah. Like, he doesn't give a shit about his people either. They're all in on it. So, yeah. Last question. Number 20. Can you change the world? Do you believe that you can change the world?
So we can redream the world. I would borrow a phrase from a cult that I like, the Sat Yoga cult in Costa Rica. Redreaming the world. Consciousness itself is the true author of everything. It's the real doer. When we recognize that consciousness is all there is, and that even nothing is really even happening, we come
So do you
into a
think
greater
that
sense.
we have the same consciousness? It's just talking through different portals or temples?
Yes, absolutely. And I
Okay.
actually think all those portals are actually in the same place in reality, in the placeless place of infinity. So it's not
Pi.
even like it's shining out of different it's all here-ness in an interdimensional thing. What you say, I? Like the I am?
No, pi. The
Oh.
infinite.
Ooh! See, I'm aware of the pyramid, but I don't know the math. um, we get more of a sense of free will when we surrender. What does that mean? That means that God is the real doer.
Right, when you give
And-
yourself over, yeah.
Yeah, and we literally get more of a sense of free will for me when I surrender. It's total paradox, and it's the most
That's
beautiful
when
paradox.
people like say that, oh, religion made you a slave. I'm like, we're reading the different books because I think it's made to free you. And like, when people say it can make you a slave, well, then it can also free you. Like, right?
I think if you can't appreciate and go into a paradox, you are so far from spiritual awakening, I can't even tell you.
Right. But that's what I say. Like, a lot of people are negative on the religion thing. That goes back to the other question before. And I got to a point recently where I just started removing all these pessimists, negative, demonizers. Like, I don't want to live in a world where my friend says everything is satanic. Like, I want to investigate what you're saying is satanic, and I want to know about it. I want to discuss every topic about it, and if it's helpful, I don't want to call every bit of it satanic. I want to use it in my life, and so that's what I've really like hated apart. Not hated, but yeah, I feel like I can also change the world, and I feel like at a young age that I've always like told myself that I was gonna change the world, and I know that sounds really crazy and narcissistic, but I always had that message in the back of my head that I'm going to change the world, and I honestly believed it. Like, and I still believe it, and I don't know what that will be, but I still believe that I will change the world, and for the better. And if maybe I already am, so like maybe that's what it is.
I think you're loud and proud about this, so you're saying the deferential things for good measure, but still, I want to say the real narcissistic thing is to play victim. It really is. Most narcissists are huge victims. I mean, people that I would really want to label as such.
Yeah, I used to. I made a big post about that. You got a lot of traction. It was about 3 months ago or so. I said narcissists and victims are the same person, and I was like, you can't have one without the other. You can't have a victim without a narcissist, and they need each other like Batman and Robin. And like once you get rid of that world, another world opens up to you. Like so.
Infinity, yeah, where you don't have this finite relating, and that is capable of redreaming.
And that's what the government wants is fear, and you ought to believe that. Like, so
Yeah.
that's
and so these people who wake up and then yeah, you can see yeah, it's a big issue. The non-solution oriented truthers really
back to that.
Holding us back, man. It's a net negative. That best to be a happy drone. Even it's a big statement.
An NPC, blissfully. So you're saying the best way to be is a blissful NPC?
Nope. I'm saying that if you're gonna be a huge asshole about the truth, yeah, go back.
I can be. Sometimes I feel like
there's good assholes. People.
I feel like some people need that asshole
like
though.
a real victim.
So.
If you're gonna use the truth to become an even bigger victim.
Right.
It's probably not good for you.
Oh
Really.
yeah. So
Yeah,
we all wake up
I
in
did
stages of grief,
I
right?
did that a little bit. To say this and preach it and be like, oh, warning against it means that there's that in me still.
Yeah,
So,
projection.
blame is really bad for the system. It's really destructive. And you aren't a personal doer. Like we aren't really doing ourselves. Like God is doing everything. And that's a very difficult thing to navigate because you can kind of fly off on the handle, like going, "I'm not responsible for my actions."
What do you
That's
think
not true
about
either.
the sensationalist that would respond to like, so God raped little girls, and what do you say about that person that goes on the tangent about that?
Right, right. So, just want to say I have no
Well, I know that's a
just
weird
just
response. Yeah,
no. I should have an answer right off the top of my head.
the
I
extremists that
usually
rely on the sensationalism of the atheist that says
oh
that.
yeah. What you say is that, well, God, gave made policemen to go and lock that guy up, and people to build a society to where that shit won't happen, and it's our responsibility to do so. Again, you get more free will, right, when you identified with the real doer, which is God, which has all these uh, inherent, balanced, um, truthful things inherent in it. Yep. So,
Well,
surrender to the right thing, I guess, which is no thing, as
well, it
opposed
was.
to an object which is satanic or something. Yeah.
It's been a great chat. We're gonna close it down. Do you have any last words you're gonna say? I'm gonna cut the recording and we'll stay on for a little bit afterwards so I can communicate a little
Yeah.
title
Well,
information.
I think this stuff needs to happen more. I mean, I was clearly bursting at the seams, especially to talk to somebody who's, really put the hours in. I mean, I was in kindergarten during 9/11, brother.
Oh, really? I was dropping out
Yeah.
of high school on 9/11.
Yeah.
So, pretty interesting. But yeah, it's been
Yeah.
great talking to you. Thank you, Matt. If you want to find Matt, I'm gonna have him tell me about some description info below. So, appreciate you.
Great. Much appreciation. Love, love.